When it comes to the stars of the Food Network, Guy Fieri is the one that's hugely polarizing. You either love him or you hate him. And even though you've already seen so much of the enthusiastic television personality, here are some things you still may not know about Guy Fieri.
Hey, I'm Guy Fieri, and you know what I need? I need you riding shotgun. I'm on my way to Flavortown. This is Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
Part of what makes Guy Fieri's fans love him is that he's out and about in their own neighborhoods, talking to the people running everyone's favorite mom-and-pop shops. And he gets it. He started small himself, and one of his first food-related gigs was selling soft pretzels out of a cart his dad helped him build. He told Eater that a family ski trip to Tahoe when he was 10 turned into something life-changing. He spent his entire allowance on a Bavarian pretzel, fell in love with the flavors, and it wasn't long before he was in the snack cart biz using a cart his dad helped build with him. He did so well at selling pretzels that he used his savings to finance a trip to study in France. Years later, Fieri and his charity, the Guy Fieri Foundation, founded the Pretzel Cart Project, which gave various children's organizations their very own pretzel cart to help them raise valuable funds, and to teach them the principles of business, cooking, safety, and show them that they could step outside the box to do some pretty cool things.
He has a non-profit where he gives pretzel-making machines to inner-city schools so they can fundraise. I know that sounds like I made it up, but I swear to Christ it's true.
Fieri might be best associated with heart-stopping diner dinners that are as fat and calorie-filled as they are decadent and delicious. But he definitely wasn't raised that way. According to Eater, Fieri has said that when he was younger, parents Jim and Penelope hadn't allowed him some of the staples of childhood. There was no bologna and no white bread, but there was a lot of steamed fish and brown rice. Fieri told Parade that his parents were, in his words, a bit earthy, and they were huge fans of the macrobiotic diet. Think whole grains, fruits, veggies, and beans specifically, whatever's in season. But Fieri wasn't a fan. He says that after a lot of complaining, his frustrated mother finally told him that if he didn't like her cooking, then he could cook for himself. He stopped by the local butcher on his way home from school, cooked the family up some steaks, and they loved it. The best part? There was a rule that whoever cooked didn't have to do the dishes, and Fieri says, that's when the bell went off. Ding, ding, ding. Fieri travels to a ton of different places and tastes a lot of dishes on diners, drive-ins, and dives. And while it might seem like he has glowing reviews to give to all the chefs who open their kitchens to him, he's admitted that he's not always a super fan of what he's eating. He was on the podcast of producer and filmmaker Brian Koppelman when he admitted that he sometimes has to tell a chef not to be offended when he doesn't like something. That'll happen to even the best of them. As he put it, he doesn't like every Rolling Stone song either. Fieri stresses that it's not his job to try and change chefs' restaurants out from under them. And just because he doesn't love something, that doesn't mean he doesn't like it. He told the Tampa Bay Times, "If I don't like it, you don't see it. That's just flat out." If there's anything about Fieri that might make even the most non-judgmental person shake their head, it's the hair. It looks shockingly out of place anywhere that's not a California beach in 1996. But haters should possibly cut him a little slack, considering it wasn't even his idea. When Fieri first met his wife in 1992, he looked pretty different. She told People, "He had no goatee, he had dark hair, he wore a suit to work every day. Now I look at him and I'm like, where's that man I married with the whole clean look?" According to Fieri, he was in a bit of a devil-may-care mood one day during a visit to his hairdresser friend. He told her to do whatever she wanted, and she did exactly that. He remembers asking her if she was going to wash out the shampoo, and being horrified when she informed him that was his new hair color. Now he's not likely to give it up, he told CBS News. "It's just how I like to flow. I wear baseball caps a lot. There's been quite a few conversations between me and my wife. She'd like to see my hair brown again. I know people want there to be more sensationalism behind the look, but there's no design. Trust me." Of all the Food Network chefs, it's Guy Fieri who gets a ton of criticism. The people that make fun of him and deride his restaurants are very vocal. So how does he deal with all of that? He chooses not to dwell on it, he told Parade. "If someone has a concern with what I eat or how I dress, brother, take all that energy and go focus on something for yourself. I'm not going to make everybody happy, and anybody who wants to hate is going to hate. You have to be confident in who you are and what you're doing. In today's age of social media and those certain people who have nothing good to say about anyone, it's probably the right attitude to have," he told People. "Anybody who pays attention to the hate really is wasting their time. I don't subscribe. I don't buy in. And if you're just some loser that sits there and hammers away at some blog forum or whatever, I don't have time for that. Why even worry about it?" Fieri has consistently taken the high road, refusing to hit back at personalities like the late Anthony Bourdain and New York Times critic Pete Wells. His philosophy is one that everyone can learn from. "I get down with the positive. I don't pay attention to the negative." People got the chance to shadow Fieri when he was filming Triple D, and the magazine learned some surprising things. Like a lot of people, Fieri has certain foods that he always eats. Specifically, he starts every day with a fruit and veggie juice. But he also has certain foods that he will never, ever eat. On that list, liver and eggs. Fieri says liver is totally out, and while he'll eat eggs if they're hidden in something else, like a dressing, he's absolutely not cool with seeing them on his plate in a more traditional form.
If that isn't heaven, I don't know what is. We definitely celebrate different gods.
Fortunately for him, it's easy for him to avoid these particular dislikes. All the dishes he samples on diners, drive-ins, and dives are ones that he's chosen well in advance. Sometimes it's a weird ingredient or preparation method that catches his eye, but regardless, he knows months ahead of time what he's going to be eating at each location. Given how many dishes out there might include an egg in its natural form, his prior planning is probably for the best.
All right now, get mad at them damned eggs. Eat it there, boy. Chew on it. Gnaw on it. Here we go. Here comes another one down on the ranch.
Guy Fieri has been all over, so he's got plenty of places to choose from when it comes to his favorites to visit and to eat. Which spots hold a special place in his heart? He told the Tampa Bay Times that he has a special love for Florida, partially because of the weather, partially because of the water, and mostly because of the mix of cultures, particularly the Cuban influence that has shaped much of the state. And Cuba is one of his other special places. He explained, "Food's great, people are endearing, the countryside is beautiful, the arts and the celebration of family is huge. I would go once a month if I could. So yeah, it's one of my favorite visits I've ever had." But Fieri says that when it comes to living the dream, his dream would be to live in Mexico. He owns property there and told Parade that the idea of heading down there permanently does come up every so often, until his wife points out he has too much going on. But as for the future, he says, "The end game for me would be living on the beach. The days I want to cook, I'd open my restaurant, put a flag out in the sand, and cook whatever was fresh. I love to cook for people. It's my honor, honestly. It's what I have to give." According to Parade, family time is the time that means the most to Fieri. It always has, and it's only become more important after the tragic death of his little sister Morgan. Fieri told the publication, "It was a big reminder that life is fragile and not to be taken for granted. That she could get melanoma and die within a year, I've always been aware of the tenderness of existence, but it reminded me to live for today. It was almost the difference between watching a movie in black and white and then watching it in IMAX." Morgan passed away in 2011, and when it came time for him to release his next cookbook, Guy Fieri Food, Cooking It, Living It, Loving It, he made sure to dedicate it to her. He told Travel Food and Drink, "My sister lives on forever. My sister lives on in the bookshelves and in the homes with the families of people forever. It's like climbing the highest mountain and scratching her name in the world." Fieri has been very vocal about encouraging people to experiment with his recipes, and that openness is in large part due to the dietary restrictions his sister lived with. He told AP, "It really opened my mind. I think it was the last gift she gave me. It changed me as a chef." Fieri is living the good life with his wife Lori and their sons, at least when he's not busy with his seemingly endless list of projects. He told Delish the story of how they met, and it just goes to show you should never underestimate the connection you might have with a stranger who's yelling at you.
Take the food on us, we're sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna write the paper about this, and all y'all getting fired up in here.
I'm gonna take the food. Thank you very much.
Fieri was running a restaurant in Long Beach when he had to fire one of his employees. That employee came back to the restaurant, and when Fieri went out to defuse the situation, a certain someone crossed his path. He explained, "I was saying, hey, listen, wait a few weeks before you come in, and standing behind her is this blue-eyed blonde girl giving me this mean mug. She said, 'You can't make us leave,' and I was like, 'You don't have to.' I knew as soon as I saw her. I just knew." They were married in 1995, and he still credits her with supporting him along the wild ride that started with the Food Network reality TV show and only escalated from there. There are different ways to measure the success of a celebrity, and a completely legitimate one is to say you've made it when you've been portrayed on Saturday Night Live. In that case, Guy Fieri has definitely made it. He's been repeatedly played by Bobby Moynihan.
If your grill is out of gas, just cook them over your shirt flames.
Not everyone who ends up as a character on SNL is flattered by it. Donald Trump called for, quote, retribution on Twitter after Alec Baldwin appeared in one skit, which led the actor to tweet, "I wonder if a sitting president exhorting his followers that my role in a TV comedy qualifies me as an enemy of the people constitutes a threat to my safety and that of my family." Fieri's response to Moynihan wasn't quite as aggressive as Trump's, to say the least. In fact, it was quite the opposite.
I could eat this off a flip-flop. Full throttle.
Fieri told the Build series that he thinks Bobby kills it with his impression, and that they've actually become pals.
He's a true artist. I mean, he's able to pick out the nuances and exploit them to the 15 millionth degree. But it's funny, and I mean, you got to laugh at yourself.
He even asked Moynihan to record a birthday video message for his son's 18th birthday, and the comedian did exactly that. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more MASH videos about your favorite chefs are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.